the win is the waiver.
There you go. The win is the waiver.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Put it on a t-shirt. Make a
That's
new
it.
slogan. The win is the
waiver.
waiver. Kevin has just solved the riddle here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on the ball. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. Straight making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie. And he's that other guy sitting in the chair, Mama Smith.
Every time he switches it up on his introduction of Mamba.
You never know what's coming out of Kevin Harvick's mouth.
You don't.
Next.
Hey, I just saw you guys like 12 hours ago after our nice gathering, our happy hour
we had
gathering.
a little,
Thanks to our digital leaders for orchestrating that.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks for showing up. Showed up late, left
Man,
early.
it was an adventure. It was an adventure. I don't go downtown very often, and so
Uptown.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's the problem. So I went uptown, and when I got uptown, I said, well, I'm just going to park in the parking spot. So I park in the parking spot, and I look up at the sign. I'm like, well, I better just check to make sure this is an approved parking spot. Well, it wasn't. So I had to go find a parking deck, and that was an adventure in itself.
Right? You got to get
everything's under construction, and the one I went to was in a maze underneath the building. And then leaving last night, the guy in front of me, so I'm going to get home early, put my kids to bed, and so. I go and I pull out of the parking deck and I pull up and the guy in front of me cannot figure out how to use his credit card. So he's taking his credit card in and he's putting the credit card in, pulling the credit card out, putting the credit card in, pulling the credit card out. And it keeps saying invalid credit card. And I'm like, surely to God, the guy's going to figure out that you just have to put the credit card in the machine and still it says, take it out. And so finally I get out of my car and I'm like, man, this guy's going to think this is strange. I said, hey, I'm coming up here to help so we can get out of the garage because the other lane was closed. So I said, just leave your card in the machine. He's like, well, my ticket's validated from the restaurant. I'm supposed to just stick my ticket in the machine. I said, well, we've been here for 10 minutes. So maybe you should stick your credit card in the machine and leave it so that we can leave. He's like, yeah, I guess I should just pay. So.
Do you think that guy realized Kevin Harvick helped him out of the parking deck?
No.
That's
I think
funny.
He didn't realize he was in the parking deck.
I
think that's where that all started. He didn't realize he was in the parking deck because apparently he had not used a parking deck ticket machine
What do you
before.
think was he? How old do you think this guy was?
I mean, he was probably 55.
He should know what the chip.
He should.
He should have definitely known what was going on. I think he was just trying to be a cheapskate and just using his ticket because the restaurant told him that his ticket was validated instead of just paying the $10 to get out of the parking deck.
It was an adventure, meeting of the minds, or maybe I had the lack of a mind because Kevin was giving me grief about the fact that I don't know a lot of other sports.
I did learn that Kaitlyn didn't know much about other sports last night.
Because I just am very engrossed in NASCAR.
Yeah, and then we figured out that some at the table hadn't ever been to a baseball game.
That was not me.
Names.
I have been
only
to a baseball
one of us that hasn't been to a baseball game. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to throw him under the bus.
Yeah, we're not going to. He's not in here to defend himself anymore. Oh yeah. So. All right.
Who hasn't ever been to a baseball game?
Yeah, that is very surprising.
Yeah, un-American.
For sure, un-American indeed. I'll have to change
America's
that at some point first.
That's what they say. I don't know.
Do you like baseball?
I do, but I don't know if it's the best thing to watch at this point in sports.
You know what the best part about this part of the show is?
What's that?
She's looking at us like, all right.
Yeah, just
no, I'm not. I'm letting you guys do your
Let's
thing.
go.
We are
Let's
off
go.
the rails.
Let's go.
Weeds.
It's like are the idiots going to stop talking?
No.
That's basically what she's thinking.
That is not at all what
All
I'd
right.
ever think. Okay, so brand new episode on tap. We appreciate all the closers, by the way. They've been showing up and watching in some big numbers over the last couple of months. So we certainly appreciate it. Keep following us on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review and a word because you only have one more opportunity to have Kevin share a word. I can't believe it. Your Fox, it's almost over.
I know. I can't wait to see what retirement actually feels like because at this point, I will admit that I'm actually tired of working.
Are you?
Everything it's been a lot, right? I wanted to do a good job for Fox, and we had all these other business things that we started. I wanted it all to start going, but I didn't realize I was going to torture myself for the first 6 months in trying to make it all work. So it will be very interesting to see what Sunday is like when you have a choice of where you're going to be. So that'll be the first time in 30 years that I've had a choice of what I was going to do on a Sunday.
And you won't have to listen to Clint yapping.
True.
right beside
Very
you.
true.
That'll be
Yes.
some nice solitude for you.
It is going to be we're going to relax for a couple
Good.
weeks.
Well, you've
then I'll be
done-
bored.
I don't think you're gonna relax that long.
Yeah.
No?
No, I don't think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, you've done an amazing job in the booth, by the way. So it's
Thank
been awesome for all
Been
of us
fun.
to. Really?
I mean, yeah, he's done all right. Like,
No,
I mean,
he
he's
really
done pretty
has.
good.
I've been in TV 13 years. He's done an amazing job. All right. And you've got a big announcement today, Kevin. You actually are going to be super relaxed because you've got some things going on. I'm going to let you take the reins and tell us what you're doing.
Finally, it's late model season, and we're here today on the show. So I figured, what the heck? We might as well have the announcement on the show. So I'm actually going to drive it's been the first time that I've driven a super late model in I wouldn't even guess. It's been a long time. I've never actually driven a straight frame rail super late model car. So I'm going to drive the Busch Light super late model, number 62 out of our shop at Five Flags Speedway, June 28th in the Southern Super Series race.
Wow.
And that's not it.
Oh,
Yeah, there's more.
and there's more.
August 3rd, I'm going to drive the late model stock race at North Wilkesboro.
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, didn't even put that on your
Yeah,
on your
that's
rundown,
not on my
buddy.
notes here.
I like this.
I was like, wait a minute.
I want to make sure everybody's surprised. So those are the first two. Those are the first two things I get to do for fun. I'm sure I'll go out there and feel like you did.
Yeah,
I don't race with those guys every week. I'm going to probably get my butt kicked, but I'm going to have fun doing it because it doesn't matter if I finish first. Doesn't matter if I finish last. I still get to drink beer at the end of the night and have fun with it. So
That's what
regardless, I'm going to race to have fun, which is something that I haven't just gone to do at a race in
quite some time.
a long time.
Yeah,
so
that is so cool.
that'll be fun. I can't wait to get back in the car and start practicing and testing and hopefully be prepared for the race. It's not that far away.
It's not that far away.
No.
When's the North Wilkesboro race?
August 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the reschedule. It got rained out.
Right.
And our drivers are off doing other things. They're on vacation and racing ARCA cars and all those things. And the 62 was available. So I was like, you know what? I'll drive it.
What Delana say about this decision?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to ask her?
Well, she went on Twitter and said that KHI isn't buying a charter. And I'm like, well, there's always stuff that you don't know about. So I don't know.
We're definitely not buying a charter. But no, she knows. She's been a part of the process the whole time. And she knows that I still want to race and have fun with it. I don't want to compete on the Cup Series side of things. And so that part with Delana was good. And a lot of these races I can go race as we go forward with Kaitlyn on the same weekends that he's running his legend cars, as he moves up into the late models and starts to race the cars. We can do races together, maybe not in the same class or maybe in the same class. It just depends. But, I think it opens up a lot of doors to kind of stay in tune with everything that we have going on with the Cars Tour, everything that we have going on with the teams, go run different series for short track racing in general. I've never been to Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola, so
It's awesome.
that's where they run the Snowball Derby. So going down there and being able to experience that track, I don't want to go down there and run the Snowball Derby. It's too much pressure.
High stress
Yeah,
situation.
I'm not looking
Big
for
one.
stress.
It's a
I'm looking
big
for fun. So
Right.
we're going to have fun. So Busch Light's been good to us. We had a 13-year relationship, through the Anheuser-Busch side of things, on the Cup car, and they've kept me around. And this last week, and while we were in St. Louis, we went up to Anheuser-Busch headquarters there in St. Louis, and they actually dedicated a finishing tank to
Yes.
me with the Forever logo and image of myself on the side of the tank, and we were able to see the tank. That thing holds 111,000 gallons of beer.
Wow.
How many cans? Did they tell you how many cans that is?
It's a lot. It was only in
gotta be a lot,
kegs. I don't
That is
remember. I don't
neat.
remember the number actually in kegs. I only remember the gallons because it was a much bigger number.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it harder to do your autograph on something like that?
Yeah, because the Sharpie end was like that long.
Yeah.
So kind of looks a little bit out of shape there. But the intention is for that tank to stay there. It's right next to the St. Louis Blues finishing tank that they dedicated to them when they won the Stanley Cup. So yeah, so that's been a great relationship. We had a good time. We got to drink beer out of the pigtail. That's
I was
going
going
to
to ask if you got to
out
do
of the
that.
tank. Yeah, it's got a
Oh.
little pigtail on the end of it, so it limits the pressure down into the glass, and you can drink before it's delivered down to be packaged.
Does it taste different right out of the
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, because technically it's actually 2 or 3 days before the born on date.
Okay.
So it's ready to be packaged, but it's not actually there yet.
Yeah.
So it's actually not new. It's newer.
Gotcha.
It's newer than new.
I'll tell you what. At the SHR, they came one time, and we had a 3-day old Budweisers, and that tasted nothing like any other beer I've ever had.
It is. And
delicious.
a lot of people don't realize beer itself is actually, you got to take care of it. Like, it doesn't need to get hot. You don't need to shake it up. The way you pour a beer is actually not down the side of a glass. It's actually down the middle of the glass.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
That time.
Yeah, we had to go to beer school. You were there. Did
Yeah.
you just drink the beer or did you listen?
I just drink the beer.
Yeah, apparently.
I let the flight get about 6 deep, and then I was like, oh, we're supposed to drink them as we were going. I just pounded them all.
Yeah, you always act like you're an expert at the beer drinking. Teach
He
us
is.
some of
He's
the ways
expert at
to
the drinking.
not the
drinking.
pouring.
Yeah, not the pouring.
There's
I'm a professional
finesse to
drinker.
the pouring.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. We're excited to have Busch Light on at Five Flags. Hunt Brothers Pizza will be on at North Wilkesboro. So be a fun couple months.
That's awesome. And what a cool experience for the fans to get to see you race again. And the paint scheme, I want to give some love to this paint scheme. It's really neat looking. Love this design.
Yeah,
good.
it looks
It's, like,
a
sharp.
lot like our Busch Light cars have looked for the last couple of years with the packaging. And we just did a full on program. So I did a photo shoot yesterday. I thought I
Did
was
you?
done with that in my race suit. So yeah, I mean, it's a full blown typical Busch Light scenario. Either do it right and go all the way with everything.
Yeah.
Oh, look at here.
Look at that.
Oh,
Look at that. Look
We
at that.
even have
we
t-shirts.
weren't even ready for you to do that yet.
I did. I wanted it now.
Yeah.
I was getting too excited. I want everyone
That's
to
right.
know.
Yeah, so they've got the whole program, around that. And so you go to Happy's eShop and buy the t-shirts and support the cause.
If
Yeah.
you're an audio listener only, Mamba just unbuttoned his other shirt he was wearing to reveal new Kevin Harvick merchandise
go.
that looks really good.
I had to pay for this, by the way.
It's apparently, yeah, you're.
So I didn't get a discount or anything.
You got it at cost. You're fine.
I have to pay to support him.
I love
That doesn't even
of
make
course.
sense.
At least you did it secretly without everybody knowing.
I also support. Well, I bought a Kaitlyn Harvick hat the other day.
Did
it
you
just
really?
came in the mail. Yeah, I showed you. Remember the order slip?
How was the process? Did it come in a timely fashion?
Yeah, it was very quick.
Good.
Yeah.
Keelan
Got it.
gives me stuff for free. So.
It's like the camo design. that
Oh,
you
the
have
camo
for-
hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
The real tree hats. They did do a couple of Kaitlyn hats. So
They look good.
yeah, this will be a new adventure going back to the short tracks and being able to have fun with. I have fun going to watch, but it's more fun when you get to drive and hang out with the competitors and learn about how another series is run. And I think that's important to understand. Everybody looks at it from a different perspective. Different areas of the country are different than some areas of the country. What happens on the West Coast is different than the East Coast. What happens Cars Tour West compared to East is much different car style of racing, different people. So there's a lot to be learned, and I think that's really the exercise is to learn and have fun.
The other competitors will really benefit from having him in the field, someone like him to watch and learn from. I always thought that when Kyle Busch ran the truck races, it's one of the sport's greatest talents coming down to the lower.
It's there, but in short track racing, I feel like everyone just wants to put a donut on his door. Like whenever like Tony came to Thunder Road, or anytime you're racing with those guys, you race like a little extra hard because you feel like you have something to prove, and they're just trying to have fun. It's a little bit more.
Here's the thing now, like if you're racing with me, you're probably not going to be as close to the front as you need to be, because I haven't raced in 6 months.
Well,
So
whatever. You're going to elevate the whole thing.
yeah,
It's gonna be
at least
cool.
that's the goal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
At least you're already ready to be humbled, because like I just ran the limited race at Hickory this past weekend, and I had a great time. Like I go with Leaf Walk Racing and we have a great time. We go to have fun, just like Kevin's talking about, support short track racing. But it's a humbling experience.
It is.
When I go run an ARCA race and have like top 5, top 3 speed, and then go run a late model race and get my ass kicked. It's kind of
The hard
Push
part
big
for
pause.
the hard part for me is the way that I've driven Cup cars for the last 20 some years. Cars are fairly straight, right?
Yeah.
These guys are sliding them all over the place, and so the style of racing is much different than of how you drive the car is much different than a Cup car or a truck or anything along those lines. So
it'll be
you
fun.
just have to get used to it.
We know Kevin's not afraid of a challenge, especially when it comes to the word of the week. So you take it from here, my friend, because we're transitioning to St. Louis.
What a transition.
Listen, I got a lot of experience in this shit. Go
All right,
ahead.
Kevin, we're down to our last two, or down to our last one, but let's hear how you use the word fugazi in Gateway.
Yeah, tough to tell. I mean, the left front tire is definitely flat
problem,
right there.
right?
But that car is fugazi for the rest of the day.
It's what?
Fugazi, done, beyond repair.
Like first off,
Yeah.
they're like, I know their faces were confused. And secondly, when you gave the definition, you did it with conviction. I think that's
Absolutely.
really what threw everything. They're like, is that what that means? Because some people thought it meant something.
It's one of the very few words that I've ever said that Mike Joy does not know what it means.
made you feel good, huh?
It did. And I don't know if maybe it didn't mean anything. I don't know. But yeah.
Laughing. So Big Daddy on X, laughing at the boost reaction to
Harvick
Harvick saying
Yeah.
Fugazi.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Mike, I can always tell if it's going to be fun, not fun, with Mike's reaction. And the fact that he was usually it's Clint going crazy over there, punching you, hitting you, kicking you, laughing, banging his hand on the table. And when Mike has a reaction, it's either a great word, and for the first time, a word he doesn't know.
He was dumbfounded almost.
He was
Just kind
dumbfounded.
of like, wait, what?
I'm
What
proud.
just happened? It sparked a lot of conversation on social media about the meaning of the word because there were several meanings to it, but you used it correctly.
Well,
so there you go.
I mean, there were. Let's see. What does this say?
This is a tweet.
Breezy
from-
and easy.
So the thing with Harvick,
Well coached.
he's well coached and knows exactly how these words are used. Fugazi had me rolling. Yes,
Fugazi.
Fugazi.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
Fugazi?
Look at
What'd I say?
No, she said Fugazi.
Oh, it is
Fugazi.
Fugazi. Yeah,
Fugazi.
Fugazi.
Yeah.
See, I'm
Yeah.
learning something new. Normally, I teach the words sometimes on
Well,
the show, but we have a
Some
role
of these words are
reversal here.
questionable as to whether they're actually words.
That's part of the fun.
It's in the dictionary.
Is it?
In the Urban Dictionary.
Exactly.
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. There's a difference between
Yeah.
the two dictionaries on
Yeah.
what's real and what's.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Did a great
Closers.
job.
We got one more. We got one
to
more
go.
go for the
What's your
2024.
plan though?
I don't know.
Are you thinking like? Are we going to
gotta-
go like way out of the box?
we got a
or are
big
gonna use
phrase last
word? Are we going
night.
to use like just a phrase? or
Maybe
we
a phrase.
Mhm.
I don't. Maybe we can get our producers to kind of take a couple and put it up as a poll and see what the people.
yes. Yeah, we'll do the poll
A
perhaps.
poll
to
is
see.
always good to
There-
get a
Mhm.
pulse of the closers.
pulse.
Pulse.
So it's not going to be like a Taylor Swift verse or something like that.
Might
I do think that'd be funny.
I think it'd
A
be
We're in
hilarious.
California. Maybe it'll be a Tupac.
Tupac.
Oh, I'd
Oh, man.
love to see Kevin insert a Tupac lyric.
And then we're going to
into
get into the whole debate of East Coast, West Coast rap. And it's going to
Yeah.
sound like I'm at home.
We're gonna have to call up Mark Martin to get into that conversation.
Yeah.
He's the
Oh,
rap
true.
connoisseur.
He's the
Yeah.
resident rap expert.
You think he's well versed on the East Coast, West Coast rap?
I would say that Mark
Probably.
Martin is more well versed in rap than most
Than
of
most.
our industry is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to see what you guys come up with. We look forward to it. In terms
Wait a second. You guys. I thought it was just him.
No, the closers. we
well-
work together.
Oh,
It's
you've got a
me and
team
the
of people.
closers.
There's a lot of people over on the side of over here who impact some of the choices being made, right?
Yeah, like we wanted to use the word glizzy one time, and you know we had to adjust from that one.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the race because there was a big race that happened out in St. Louis over the weekend. Austin Cindric was the man of the hour, maybe the man of the minute because it was changing down to the minutes for him, which we'll walk through the misfortune for others. But Austin Cindric snapped an 85 race winless streak, only had one top five prior to Sunday. Man, they really needed this one.
I couldn't believe the way that the end of this race actually unfolded with Bell blowing up, Blaney running out of gas. But you got to give it to Austin Cindric. He kept himself in contention all day. They ran up in the front all day, did everything that they needed to do to have a chance to capitalize on a moment like this. This reminded me a lot of, I think it was 2011 Coke 600, where Denny Hamlin ran out of gas, and then it was Dale Jr., and we wound up winning the race. But you got to be close enough to and be close enough to the front to capitalize on those scenarios. But it all came down to the cycle of pit stops before these guys came out for this last green flag run. And Blaney pitted a lap before Cindric did, and they were trying to jump him, right? Track position.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew what they were trying to do, but they didn't get enough gas in the thing. And these cars are never really full of gas anymore. You don't ever top them off, and you fill them up as much as they'll take to make the pit stop decent. So this was pretty much a calculation of what was in the car, how much gas we needed into the car, and we never heard any radio chatter to Blaney about, hey, save some gas, back it down, because he had a fairly good lead. I think they thought they were fairly confident in the amount of gas that they got in the car, but that was not the case. They were a whole lap off, from being able to finish the race. So Austin Cindric comes back and capitalizes on a
Right
day
place, right
and
time.
totally blows up the playoff picture.
Oh, I love it. Like this totally shakes things up because he was way down in the standings and now he's going to the postseason for
Now
Austin
he's in.
Cindric.
I mean, we talk about it all the time. If you hang around the top 5, you're going to,
Eventually.
eventually things like these will happen, but you got to be around there. And this was a race for Austin Cindric that he's really good at Gateway. They were good. They qualified good there last year. They had a lot of speed. So this was like one for them. I'm sure they kind of circled the feeling that they could get one. And I feel so bad for my boy. I gotta,
This is a tribute hat.
Yeah, tribute 12 here. He had it. They had it locked up until they didn't, for sure. And they had a great race. But all the things that happened for him, Cindric, to win, to have one guy blow up. When's the last time we've seen someone in the top 10 blow up?
Yeah.
Like it never happens. And then to have someone run out of gas, also almost never happens. So, but congratulations to Cindric and the 2 guys. It was
And
great.
Christopher Bell had him covered. I mean, he had
Yeah.
him beat bad.
Yep.
He was the guy that could. I mean, he came out 12th, 11th, 12th there at one point. Drove back to the front, ran all these guys down, and all of a sudden he's blowing up. But the motors at this racetrack and the way that they downshift with the double downshift into each corner, and I don't know if Bell was actually doing that into turn 3, but he was for sure downshifting twice into turn 1. Ton of shifting, but also a ton of opportunity to over rev the engine on the downshift, especially when you're going from 4th to 3rd under a braking. If you just have a downshift it just a little bit too much too soon, then it's going to go through the rev limiter and really put some strain on that engine. So sounds like I would venture to say it was a broken valve spring that he got lucky with and didn't break the rest of the
grenade
engine,
it.
Yeah.
and grenade the
Okay.
thing. Just wound up breaking a valve spring, dropping a cylinder, and got a little bit of help from his teammate.
I was going to say, that was
Yeah.
really neat to see.
Martin Truex
Martin
pushing
Truex.
him along down the straightaway. I don't know if they told him not to keep doing it or if NASCAR told him not
But
to
he
keep
was
doing
running
it.
like
But it picked him
where-
up 0.6 of a second.
Did it
But
really?
Martin
Just getting
was
that
like-
push?
but 30th? What was Martin running at that point?
I don't know, but he had,
He was
had
like
some
that.
audio that his crew's like, yeah, okay, the 20's in front of you. He's blowing up. He goes, I wish I would have blown up like
Yeah, he was a little sour
100 laps
grapes
ago. Like,
on Sunday. Definitely, Martin's getting a little feisty there with the.
Well, I think
the
it's time for
chief.
Martin to make a decision, right? Does he want
Mm-hmm.
to race? Does he not want to race? Is he going to? And how long does Joe Gibbs just sit back and have that
Mm-hmm.
controversy of
Back and forth.
Truex trying to decide, am I going to race again next year?
Right.
You hear the frustration on TV, so on the radio and everything that he's got going on. So where's that balance of, okay, I'm Joe Gibbs Racing. We just need to end this year-to-year stuff and start to build a stable program. I mean, I know Martin is going to be consistent and run in the front and do the things that he needs to do. But at some point, you got to rebuild. You look at Hendrick. They stopped and rebuilt. You look at the 54 car at Joe Gibbs Racing with Ty Gibbs, jumped right in there and was able to put him in a contention to at least be in the conversation of winning races. So I think with Martin, at some point that has to get old of just
The back and forth.
continuously going back and forth on a year-to-year basis of, are you going to come back next year? And so I think that decision, I think that it sounds like they're putting more pressure on Martin this year to say, okay, earlier. We got to do something because we got to know what we're planning around here and move forward.
It reminds me a little bit of Kirk Cousins and the Vikings when he kept getting those franchise tags and 1 year deal and 1 year deal. And you can't really build for the future when you don't know where your main guy is going to be, if he's with you or not. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
to your point, it's time.
Yeah,
for
and I
decide.
think if it's time to take a chance on another guy,
Right.
there are those opportunities to lower that budget. We've seen a lot of those teams lower the budget from the driver's standpoint, is hiring a younger guy to kind of start that cycle of building somebody up to being a top tier guy again from a pay standpoint, from an experience standpoint. So it'll be interesting to see if Gibbs keeps going on with that all that talk of being on a year-to-year basis. So I don't know.
Yeah, Bob Hawkers did ask Martin over the weekend if he had an update, which he very quickly said no on the retirement conversation. So we'll have to continue to follow that. So what about the Kyle versus Kyle situation we saw
gosh.
here? Kyle Larson versus Kyle Busch.
Well, it all started off of turn 4. You see the two of them wrecking right there, but really the story started off at turn 4. Kyle Larson went to pass Kyle Busch and he went up to side draft and he touched the left rear quarter panel of Kyle Busch. And I don't think Kyle appreciated that. Kyle Busch appreciated that. And he got to the start-finish line and started to come down the racetrack and actually started squeezing Larson down the racetrack. Well, Larson finally just stopped, and then they banged fenders, and they got to the entry of the corner and were basically door to door. And the car of Larson on the inside got loose underneath Busch, and they both wrecked. So I don't know. It's kind of like the Truex situation. You talk on the radio, with his radio chatter and all the frustration that he has on the radio. Kyle Busch is at that point where he's on the radio frustrated and doing all the things that he's doing. He's had, a couple of those moments. Saw North Wilkesboro getting in the back of Stenhouse when he got frustrated with him. And,
oh, yes.
I viewed that as a little bit of frustration from Kyle Busch with Kyle Larson pretty quickly over. Didn't look like a lot of contact. I don't know what you think, but it didn't look like a lot of contact to me.
I thought that was just a normal. I mean, we have fenders for a reason. And it's not like he doored him in the corner. It was down the straightaway. And then, I don't know, I just felt like he's to the point where his fuse is very short.
Yeah.
Rowdy of Rowdy Busch.
It's always kind of been short.
Yeah, he gets to the point. He's just
short.
like...
I think that pressure's ramping up on Kyle Busch, too. I've been there. It's those scenarios where now it's a year. Hadn't won in a year. He's won 19 years in a row. And now he's looking to extend that win streak. He's had a lot of terrible things happen. With the pit crew. The pit crew hasn't done a great job at all. Kyle's had a couple of these moments now, a few of these moments with a few guys on the racetrack. So his fuse is short, but it's short for a reason. Yeah. And that's because the cars aren't running good and they're not getting the finishes.
Well, this time a year ago, he already had 3 wins. And you guys showed a graphic on the broadcast of drivers who'd already won at this point in the season. They were all former champions. It was Martin, Kyle, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney. Are you surprised at this point in the year that that group of drivers I just named have still not found victory lane?
I'm a little bit surprised with Blaney. Obviously, this weekend, Blaney was in position to win the race. Logano has, we saw that dominant performance at North Wilkesboro, but outside of the Daytona 500, I don't really view him as being in contention to be that dominant car and lead the laps like we're used to seeing Joey Logano. That surprises me a little bit at this point in the season. I think that they got a decent finish this weekend. Kyle Busch, I look at Kyle Busch. He came out and, had a chance to win. He ran well at the Daytona 500 this year. They came out like gangbusters last year, right out of the box, all the way through this race last year. Yep. And then it kind of tapered off. I feel like the performance kind of just leveled off, and we've seen some sporadic peaks of performance as they've gone from last year at St. Louis to this year at St. Louis, but never that beginning of the year newlywed phase like they went in at RCR when he first went to RCR. So to me, that's a situation to where everybody was on full alert. Okay, we got to make this work last year when we start this relationship off new, and they got to figure out how to get back to that level of participation and all the things that they were doing in the first 6 months of that relationship with Kyle Busch and RCR.
Brad Keselowski, he's definitely kind of firing on all cylinders. He's been just RFK has really been elevated, I would say, in the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
they found it, right? I mean, we talked about it early on in the season. They don't have the speed. They don't have the speed. They don't have speed. And now it seems like they've turned around and found what they needed to be consistent. And that's the difference between the 8 situation with Kyle Busch and, RFK or even Ryan Blaney is like these 3, they run in the top 10 pretty consistently. So they might not be dominating, but they're putting themselves in position to maybe steal one, or if they have just a little bit of a better day. Whereas Kyle Busch is just outside the top 10 or 15th, and it doesn't seem like they're getting there. It doesn't seem like they're having that consistent speed that you need to get a win to make your way into the playoffs. So, I mean, if I'm the 8 bunch, I would say that the panic, I'm not hitting the panic button, but I'm definitely hovering over it. Yeah, my hand. I'm looking for it because I'm we gotta get this. We gotta start taking big swings. When you take big swings, you might hit a home run, but there's a lot of strikeouts in between those.
A lot of mistakes.
But then you go to Dover and they qualify on the pole.
Right.
Right. And so it's there. It's not like that Kyle Busch can't do it. It's not like RCR can't do it. It's there. But how do you find that consistency to keep that speed in the cars week after week? And it's just it's a little bit puzzling. To be honest,
I think they're confused too.
And I know that with this car, it's harder than it used to be consistent, right? It's harder to maintain that top 5 and maintain that ability to be able to put those cars on the racetrack to have that speed every week. But man, I feel like they should be doing it more than they are.
And I think Kyle Busch is one of the drivers who's admitted he really benefited from a lot of practice time, right?
Yeah.
Is that affecting him, you think, the fact that we have a lot less of that now?
Well, they're good with he's good with analyzing the car. I mean, there's not many people that are better than Kyle Busch at what they do. I think with the scenario with this car, I think a lot of those tools and techniques and things that Kyle Busch just knew like the back of his hand. Hey, it's not on the right front spring good enough. It's not doing this, this, and this with the old car. Those things are a little harder to come by with this car to say it needs this, this, and this with this next gen car. So having a short amount of time to do that, not having a lot of time in the race car to keep analyzing things and keep assessing things makes it difficult to be able to understand exactly where you need to go with the car in such a short amount of time. Because basically this week we qualified at 8:30 in the morning, local time, practice and qualified, combined everything. So there was one 30-minute session and everybody qualified after that. So that's not a lot of time. And then you're kind of guessing what the pace is going to be because the race was going to be in the sun, in the heat of the day, not like it was in practice. So if you miss that pace, and those are the types of things I feel like they're missing is what the pace is. So when you miss the pace, then you miss the travel, then you miss, where the air pressures need to be as far as how low and all the things that go with that. So just doesn't take much to be able to be off in this car and not have the pace that you need.
I don't think Kyle Busch is someone that struggles with confidence, but I do think winning is contagious. And I do think if he does some more Xfinity, I know I think he's maxed out in the trucks for how many races he can do. If he can get in the Xfinity Series and run a little bit more and run better, you just feel better. And that helps. I feel like like when William Byron runs late model races, he would win a late model race and then he'd show up on the Cup day and he'd win. And Larson, kind of the same thing. It does matter for yourself, just that you're locked in.
And I agree with you on that. I think when Kyle could run 50 races a year, I think it helped him just not get as frustrated with things because even when it would go bad on Sunday or Saturday or Friday, whatever the day it was, he always had another day. The next day. He always had the next moment to figure it out. And he was racing during the week and he's not being able to kind of blow that steam off to be able to get out from underneath that frustration. And you can see it. Like, unfortunately, the frustration just keeps mounting more and more and more as the cars don't run good and you check another week off. And now he's having to answer those questions. Now he's on a losing streak of a year, and that's a pain in the butt. And it makes you mad. It pisses you off as you have to answer those questions on a week-to-week basis. And then you're more frustrated. And so all the way back to where we started this segment, I think that's where that little bump from Kyle Larson got frustrated. And you can see the frustration in Kyle's interview with the answer that he gave.
And you look back for two teams, the 12 and the 8, that were in that photo finish at Atlanta. And now you look at that race and you're like, they both, I mean, obviously the 99 needed it too, but all three of those cars really needed that win. Yeah. And they didn't get it, and Suarez did. So it matters.
Frustrations mounting definitely for some teams. As we always typically see in races, pit road is a factor. There was an interesting incident that happened on Ty Gibbs' pit stop, nearly taking out actually his cousin, Jackson Gibbs. As you can see here, this was pretty dangerous situation. It looks like Jackson kind of catching his breath there.
On the right front.
Pulling back like a dog on a leash.
So on the right front, the hose. Yeah, right there.
Oh my God, dog on a leash.
It's like they tried to yank it.
Yeah.
Whoever's over the wall is pulling, and Jackson didn't have enough room to get around the nose yet. So there was no slack. Like, see how tight it got?
Yeah, and it was definitely a 2-tire call. There's no tires sitting on the ground right there.
No.
So it's not like Ty wasn't planning on taking off, and the crew guys didn't know. It was just looked like something got kind of tangled up in the hose, and the hose got tight, and he wasn't far enough along the nose. But you have to kind of wait a beat for the tire changer to take a step, and then you're counting on the fact that he takes his normal steps. So when he stopped right there, and Ty was already going, at that point you just got to kind of hope for the best and hope that he's going to just fall softly.
You think Ty, because he knows it's his cousin, you think that he was like, he'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not family, you know what I mean? It's like, I would almost feel a little bit not as bad. Like, if it's a guy that, is on my crew, I'm like, feel way bad. If it's my cousin, I'm like, he's beat on me
You're
a couple
fine.
times. Like,
Yeah.
you'll be all
It
right.
is the older cousin.
Yeah,
for
the older
sure.
cousin.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out to some of the unique names that were in the top 10 from this race. Carson Hocevar is a driver we haven't talked a ton about, but we all watched him in the Truck Series and what he was able to accomplish there. Obviously, the Phoenix race last year when he was in the hunt for the championship, you could visibly see him beating himself up in the truck when all of that transpired. But he's learned so much, and he did some Cup starts last year and was very impressive in those. And it just seems like he's consistently making gains.
The thing I like about Carson Hocevar is he's making laps.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first year of your Cup career, you need to finish all the laps that you can to gain the experience that you can, not tear the cars up, be able to put yourself in a position to get the experience that you need to be good. And we talked about this on the broadcast of Carson being able to, whoever's talking to him is doing a great job, and he's being a great listener because of the finishes and the laps that he has run. He's run a ton of laps this year compared to, some of the other guys that compete in the series, and that tells me that the focus is to finish. We know I like to categorize Carson as a gasser. I mean, when he puts his foot down, the car is. The intention is to go fast, but there's way more to it than just going fast. You can't just go fast every week. You have to be able to figure out how to finish these races, put yourself in position to do exactly what Austin Cindric did this week. And that's what a lot of them don't learn. They don't learn how to finish races, keep yourself in contentions, do the small things right. And you don't have to be that gasser every single lap of every race if you can do all those things. Do the details, do the small things, and the rest of it will take care of yourself if you work on your car. Sure, you have to have some speed, but you don't always have to be the fastest car to get good finishes. And Carson Hocevar did that. Justin Haley continues to do that in his car. And it's fun to watch the guys that kind of fly under the radar, don't get a lot of credit for what they do, but Hocevar is going to be good.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
this car has allowed this to happen. Like the reset of everybody and everyone reset at zero. The old car, I don't know if Spire would have been able to be this good with such a young driver. Like he's carrying the company. Like he runs 20th or qualifies around there and then runs up in the top 15 and then the top 10 this week. And he's doing a really good job. He's got that dog in him. He got that dog in him.
You had to get that in there one more time.
At least one more
was
time.
that the first one he did? No, what was the first one?
No, the first one he did was lit.
Yeah, okay.
He got that dog in him in Bristol.
No, we're going to recap all those words, though.
Yeah.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we're going to.
We are. Next,
Okay.
once Sonoma is concluded, we will recap.
Can't wait for that.
We got to line them all
I
up.
can't
What
either.
they all are,
We'll
but
grade them.
I've learned a lot of words this year.
You have.
You've learned a lot this year.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So the other big storyline that's kind of gone on for far too long that is officially
Saga. It's a saga.
it's officially over though.
Yeah.
What that word means?
Just move on. Sometimes we just need to act like he doesn't exist.
I'm just asking.
Kyle Larson, guys, he's been granted a waiver for missing the start of the Coca-Cola 600. There was a lot of talk about this, because obviously he was running the Indy 500. I imagine that a conversation had to have taken place between Hendrick and NASCAR once they realized the weather situation they were in to make sure this was going to be okay, because it was not like the weather crept up on everybody. We all knew that was going to be a factor, but NASCAR took a while to make this decision. They made the right decision, I might add. But it's just this waiver conversation continues to get interesting.
Continues. And it's not saga. The saga ended with everything that everything that happened with Kyle Larson was great for racing.
Yes.
Not only was it great for NASCAR and great for IndyCar, but it was great for racing in general with all the storylines and all the effort and all the time. Not only Kyle Larson, McLaren, Hendrick Motorsports, all the people. I mean, there were millions of dollars spent on this particular situation. Kyle Larson landing in a helicopter back at the 600, running across the racetrack to get back in his car for nothing other than the show. And just to fulfill his commitment. But I think this is a perfect scenario. I agree. There were a lot of high level conversations probably between everybody at the top level of NASCAR, probably all the way up to Jim France and Rick Hendrick and all the folks at Hendrick Motorsports. I would assume that those conversations went all the way to the top. And when it took longer than what we all thought it should took, I think a lot of people probably thought some things were going to happen, and I'm sure that, I think the one thing that was talked about were there were a lot of politics and tying this all together with the charters and whether there were politics being played from one side to the other. I think there's a lot of things you could read into this situation, right? But when you listen to Elton Sawyer talk, really what was happening is they wanted to make sure they were thorough, to make sure that they made the right decision, to put themselves in a position to make sure they had dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, because this is a pretty high level decision of everything that was going on from the waiver standpoint. But I think that the best thing that came out of this is Kyle Larson got the waiver as he should, and I think it's, as I've said, it's time to talk about whether the waiver is right. I think when you look at the points that Kyle Larson has, he missed a race. He's still second in the points. He's still in the championship hunt. I know that this is put in place for injuries and different things like that, but I'm not a believer in the body of work not being the same for everybody, right? So if you're sick or injured and you can't get in a car to start the race, it's terrible luck. It's terrible timing. It's a terrible situation, but is it still fair to the guy that's put in the whole body of work, that's made it to every race and been there every week with his team to be able to succeed by being there every week? Yeah, there are risks. There are risks to snowboarding. There are risks to running other series. There are risks to running in the race on Sunday. And no matter what that risk is, there's always going to be risk in everything that you do. Sometimes it's not your year. But I look back to 2015. Kyle Busch won the championship. We finished second. We had the dominant year and got beat by a guy who missed 8 races, 7 races, whatever that was. I don't know. Is that fair? I don't know. Is it not? It seemed okay as we started the process, but as it's evolved, it seems like you can get a waiver for pretty much anything. Yeah. And I think if you've got enough points, then you should be able to race for the championship, as Kyle Larson will do by missing a race because he's had a great season.
Mm-hmm. And Elton Sawyer, we obviously have his statements now. He talked about the fact he felt like Kyle Larson made every effort to be there, obviously, to the Charlotte race. He referenced also the fans, the fact that, fans were coming to Charlotte with the intent to see him race, which played a factor also in just the whole decision-making process.
Yeah, I mean, fans went to both places to see him race.
You can look at the TV ratings for that.
Yeah, I mean, like it was obvious, right? So I agree. I think at this point, the waiver system, look, no one's gonna not race because they've won one and are in, right? Like in other sports, we see basketball players, especially, they kind of sit out, and like the NBA had to make a rule, so you had to play at least 65 games to get your awards. Like I understand that, but our guys are not gonna sit out because you can't. There's only 38 races, and you have sponsorship obligations, and like no one's just gonna sit out, because if you do, you're gonna fall behind. You can't sit out a couple weeks and then roll up for the playoffs and think that you're gonna go out and beat all these guys. Like we just talked about it with late model racing. You got to do it every week, and you got to be locked in every week. And I think at this point, the waiver should be more for like injuries, more for like, especially like at track, and like if you get hurt driving the race car and you're able to come back. Even like something like if you're having a birth of a child, like I would be like,
yes,
but there's got to be some guidelines.
There's got to be.
It can't just be.
Can't be everything.
It can't be everything, and it can't be, just at the decision of a couple people, right? I guess it can be.
Everything else is, but
yeah. But I think it's in. I like strong leadership. Like I like the days when NASCAR ruled with an iron fist. I love those days. There's nobody I respect as much as I do Mike Helton. And Mike Helton, he led this thing with an iron fist, and it's become not the same with as far as that goes. Being able to lead as hard, as Mike did, but we respected him, and we had he had a lot of authority on what he was doing. So I think it's just got to be more clear.
Do we need it?
Yeah.
I don't like the waiver. I don't
at.
like it at all. Like I don't like it for injuries. I don't like it for
I don't think it matters.
Childbirth. I don't like it for anything.
Do we need the waiver? I think that's where we're at, because if you don't have it, what's going to change?
Yeah.
I don't think anything's going to change if you don't have it. If you're 30th or more in points and you have a win, you have a shot at your seeding in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go that far, why don't we just have a drop? Why didn't everybody just get one drop? If you're going to make it okay for one guy to miss a race, why is it not okay for the guy that races all the races to get rid of his worst one?
Yeah.
Why is that not okay?
So is that the solution? We're coming to
I don't
this
know what the
conclusion?
solution is. I'd like
Okay.
simplicity.
Yes.
I like simplicity
It's
of
pretty
who gains
open-ended.
the most points. The top 16 guys that gain the most points, they get into the playoffs. That's the simplest thing. If you miss 2 of them and you can finish 16th, more power to you.
Then you gangstered that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christian Eckes in the August season a few years ago missed a race and still won the championship. He did what he had to do to get those points back.
And let's not forget, you can also just win.
Just win.
Yeah.
Al
So,
Davis, baby.
You know,
Yeah.
you've
That's the
given
simplest form.
you've given the way to get into the playoff of winning. And if you can't win, you don't deserve to be there. Right? And that's the thing that makes Kyle Busch's 2015 championship, at least you can stomach it, right? Because of the fact that he won.
Yeah.
He put himself in victory lane. He met the criteria for that particular year. But if you can't do that, I don't understand why we need to make it more complicated than it needs to be. If you can win, then you deserve to be in it.
That's
There you go.
And if you can't score enough points without a win, you don't deserve to be in it. And that's really all the waiver does is grant somebody access that might get in on points.
Yeah.
And the guys who can get in off of winning usually win,
right.
right?
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, Chase Elliott didn't win last year and he missed the playoffs. If we didn't have the waiver, it would have never even been talked about. All he had to do was win.
Right.
But instead, it got close enough to where we're talking about Chase Elliott being able to get into the playoffs on points.
Yeah.
And just leave the win. The win is the waiver.
There you go. The win is
Win.
the waiver.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Put
Put it on a t-shirt.
Make a
That's
new
it.
slogan. The win,
win
is the waiver.
waiver.
Kevin has just solved the riddle here.
Yes.
On what
Yeah.
needs to happen.
Time to yeet the waiver and just win.
Yeah.
There we go.
Winner's the waiver, baby.
Win is the
Win's a win.
I love
Win's
it.
a win.
Okay, so hopefully no more waiver talk for the rest of the year. But it is time now for Mamba Social Sips.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
cue it up,
guys.
my friend.
Welcome to your favorite part of the show where Kevin just sits there and I get to talk. So we're going to start. We're going to start, though, with an awesome epic battle. It's been a year of close finishes. And we had another one at Langley Speedway in the Cars Tour race. One of Kevin's cars was actually involved with this. Brent
What a
Cruz on the
finish.
inside. It is Carson Quapple in the middle. And, oh, man, I feel really
Connor
bad.
Hall.
Connor Hall. Thank you. Connor Hall, who won the race. Connor's actually local to there. He's local to Langley.
Yep.
So it was a big win for him. But that 3-wide finish, unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say that Brent Cruz still lost the race. I'm not saying he won it, but like it's so close. I can barely tell.
Yeah, well, when you look at the pictures, I mean, it is like a couple inches on the front of the nose there that Connor Hall won by. But I think everybody, late model stock racing won.
Yeah.
You know, the fans at Langley, they had the place pretty much sold out. And, you know, the late model stock, Cars Tour late model stock stuff just puts on that's the type of racing they put on 90% of the time throughout the year. Very rarely is there somebody driving away from the field and dominating one of those races. So that was definitely an epic finish.
You know who's from there?
Oh, that's where I started my career.
That's Langley.
as a
Home track.
reporter there. Yeah,
Really?
for several years before I came here to Speed Channel. But that's why you go support your local short tracks because you see finishes like that. It's
Yeah.
great racing every weekend at the local spots.
We love local short
Yes,
track
we
racing.
do.
All right. So moving right along, SVG. Oh, no, sorry. Not SVG yet. We're going to go to the crew member who flattened the hood of Jesse Love's number 2 Wayland
Impressive.
Chevrolet from the top rope, Kevin.
Whoa! Oh my goodness!
So because the body is the composite, it's really hard to actually like make it move. Like after there's
He's doing
damage.
his
Apparently,
best.
he knew that. He
Yeah,
he get a running start.
Dropped the
Yeah.
people's elbow on that thing.
Yeah.
And they got it back down, but just one more time for
Yeah.
oh,
Love that.
you know how hard it is when I first started
belly flop.
as a crew member. Kyle, I was on Larson's car in K&N. He banged off the wall and the deck lid was all messed up. I have one of those yellow mallets, and I'm giving it all I can give it.
You didn't commit like that.
It didn't commit like that.
No.
But someone came in and dropped an elbow on it.
Yeah.
Like it takes body.
You talk about swinging that hammer. I can hear my dad tell me right now, if you're going to swing that, if you're going to pick that hammer up and swing it like you mean it.
I wasn't.
You weren't swinging it like you meant.
Not like I meant it. So
Swing it like you mean
that was
it.
awesome. And we're going to stay right in Portland because SVG got his first Xfinity Series win up there, which is back-to-back now for Kaitlyn because AJ won there last year. He had an awesome burnout.
Yes, he did.
So
This is the beginning of it.
This is down in the corner. So the road course, because the road course is so long
Mm-hmm.
that he's doing a donut, and then he does a drift for like I don't know how far. I don't know how far this is, but it was forever.
Then he
Well,
gets a
yeah,
football.
I mean, you got to
What is
remember,
this?
he's
That's
kind of
rugby
a,
ball.
he does a little
Rugby
bit of
ball.
rally racing, so that
Yeah.
those handbraking, sliding maneuvers are not far from what he's normally used to doing. So took a little rugby football there, signed
into
it and
the
kicked it into the stands. That's
I love that.
very creative.
I like new celebrations.
New
Now,
celebrations. Yeah.
here's the thing about SVG. He won a cup race already.
Mm-hmm.
He's got an Xfinity Series race now. Andy Lally made a tweet saying that they should just put him in the Truck Series next road course race so he can be the quickest person to winning in all three series. Right now, it's Joey Logano. He did it in 30 combined National Series starts, 20 Cup starts, 7 Truck, and 3 Xfinity. What say you, Kevin Harvick? Put him in the truck.
Well, I mean, if you put him in a truck on a road course, he's going to win. If he doesn't win the first one, he'll probably win the second one.
There
And
you go.
yeah, I think that
It's a good idea,
I think
though.
that's a great idea. Andy Lally.
Andy Lally. Great idea. We got one more thing.
Oh, you got another one.
One more.
It's a big sip today.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
sip.
This is a-
Big sip. Listen,
We're drunk.
Gateway. No, that was last night. Gateway is a tight front stretch. The burnout from Austin Cindric compared to the burnout from SVG.
Mhm.
Kevin, give us your rating here.
Well, the style points on this one are not as high as SVG's, but the execution of the donut,
Yeah.
tight.
I don't know.
Flawless.
It's pretty tight right here.
Yeah.
And this was a very good burnout, but
Where'd he go?
I don't
Been
know. Those
waiting
cup
85
those cup
races.
donuts just have a little more. They have a little more
to him.
meaning,
Yeah.
than the
prestige.
Xfinity win. So
So honorable mention to SVG, but where are we grading? Because right now you have
that's pretty darn close to Logano's.
Yeah.
So Logano's, the thing about Logano's is you were there and you felt like it shook the building. So
window,
like
yeah.
This
that's
one
what
shook the windows too.
Did
We
it?
weren't as close. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it was. Those donuts were good,
So-
and it's once you get those donuts going like that, like it's hard to keep them going, and when the smoke gets like that, it's hard to know if you're going to hit the fence.
and the narrow front stretch.
I don't know if he hit the fence because there was so much smoke. So
Is
from the smoke
It's a
and
lot of
donut
smoke.
perfection,
Huh?
There you go.
pretty good one.
What do you grade? We need a number here.
Am I numbers? Am I letters?
I don't
I
know.
forgot what I am.
Just tell me if it's better than Logano's or not.
I don't think it's better, but I think
Okay.
it's pretty equal.
Logano's still leading.
Logano's still leading. That's all that
I think so.
matters.
For Logano.
Okay.
Little, still leading.
Welcome to the Sips. Thank
There
you,
you go.
closers.
Also, I should give an honorable mention to the racetrack because it was a packed house out there this weekend. They do such a great job with all the entertainment and everything they provide for the fans.
They do.
Ludicrous is there.
And we went to the UFL game on
Oh, yeah.
Saturday. And St. Louis fans are they're another level. And they supported that UFL game, but they supported the NASCAR race and they support the IndyCar race. They support pretty much anything that happens in that town.
Sports
And I
town.
love how those sports teams and events and all those people in that city work together to make sure that their events are successful while they all coexist. So fun to see sports well supported.
Go other sports. I'll learn
Yeah.
all about them.
She has no idea. Is UFL, is that like some
Stop
sort of-
it.
yeah.
No, we're not doing that. All right, last call, guys. Time now to give our race picks on who we believe can be victorious out there at Sonoma Raceway this weekend.
This is a tough one.
Kevin, you can take the honors. You got
This
it
is
up
a tough
first.
one. I think that we've got new pavement.
Mhm.
I think it's going to come down to not a lot of tire fall off. I think it's going to come down to strategy.
Mm.
And I think I'm not even going to pick anybody this week.
No, that's
What?
not. No.
He's not
That is
picking?
illegal.
I'm not picking.
No, absolutely
so
not.
you had Truex, Josh Berry. I don't even know who the other one was. Who the Chevy was
the what?
that went out there and tested. So you
Oh,
got those
okay.
3 cars
Oh.
that tested, and then you had SVG do the wheel force test for Chevrolet.
Okay.
It might have been Chastain that actually went out there and did the test. So I think those guys will have an advantage to get started right off the bat. But we have a 50-minute practice. This is going to come down to taking some risk on pit road,
I'm going Martin Truex Jr. There was a time where this was one of his best racetracks. He was an excellent road course racer. We know he's still looking for that first win of the year. Maybe the old 19 team can, relive some of those glory days with the wine sipping and get a victory.
I'm between a couple guys. I have one picked.
You're pulling a Kevin because
No,
usually he'll have
but I'm
like a
actually,
few.
but I think they deserve some love. Justin Haley.
Oh my
gonna be
gosh!
tough.
Wow.
This is a play like
It's
he's
open for a guy.
right.
like
And
Justin.
if Tic Tac can do some magic on strategy, and like this is a place that you can do that. So
Yes.
like I don't want to pick him, but I do think he'll have a good day. I think the 24, they need to get their stuff rolling back. William Byron needs to get going back, and he had a really phenomenal weekend at Coda. But I am gonna go on a little bit of a limb and give it to Chase Briscoe. We are going Chase Briscoe, another guy that can really flip it on strategy. He's good on road courses. I think they need one, and I think this is a good place to get one for him.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see the style of racing because I think everybody knows it's going to be difficult to pass, which sometimes leads to carnage.
Always.
Yeah.
So I think this could be one of those races that's a complete disaster or just a completely snooze fest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could go either
Like
way.
you just don't know which way it's going to go. Could land somewhere in the middle, but a lot of times on these new style repaves, you go extreme one way or the other. So
We haven't seen a road course repave in a very long time, right?
well, we went to Watkins Glen, but it's been several years ago that they paved Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the second time that I've been through this cycle with Sonoma. So, but it's tough to pick out those guys who have been on that side of being so successful here, like Truex, because of the fact that all the little tricks of Sonoma of which curb to hop on, where to drive,
changed.
where the drive and the most grip is up off the corner, and all those little tricks to the setup that made turn and grip for old Sonoma surface not really there anymore.
So you're saying
because-
my pick no good.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
I'm saying your pick could be great. Your pick could be great.
he don't know.
Mine could be great. It could be a
He's
disaster.
the weatherman this week. He don't know nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, I'm guessing.
Hey, that's okay. We're all guessing together. And you have a busy week. As I mentioned, it's your final race for Fox, but you have a very cool guest joining you on the Thursday episode of the show. Tell us about it.
Yes. Yeah, we've got Alex Rodriguez this week. A lot going on in the baseball world on Fox coming up in the future. A-Rod, he's obviously got a huge baseball background, so he was pretty good at it as he went through the years. So I'm intrigued to hear about some of those Yankee stories and some of those team changes and all the things that come with being A-Rod. So it should be fun.
Have you talked to him before?
Briefly.
You got
Not like this.
So you're definitely going to ask about the rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox because he was right in the middle of all that.
Maybe.
Whatever.
You know what happens? You know what happens when we get into we get 30 minutes with
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And we get in the middle of these interviews and I get to about page 2 of 5. And then I'm like, all right.
It's time to wrap it up.
Yeah. missed most of those questions. Over prepared again.
There you go.
Well, you and Kaitlyn
Well,
do that well.
Yeah.
Both over prepared. I, on the other hand, was a terrible student, so I just wing it.
Well, we look forward to that conversation regardless. And best of luck to you in the booth this weekend for your last race. We'll, of course, be listening. We encourage the closers to continue following us on YouTube, subscribe, leave a review, leave a word potentially, and make sure you follow us on social media as well. We'll see you guys after Sonoma.